I thought what I'd do today is give a quick overview of the cruising areas that I frequent most often here on the west coast of Florida. And that would be the areas right around Tampa. What I'm going to focus on here is basically this area here. And that splits up into two areas I'm going to look at, sort of the St. Joseph Sound and Clearwater Bay area, and then also down here around Fort Desoto in the south. Those are the two main areas that I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be going over things like places you can launch, as well as places to anchor, and also restaurants that you can go to, or other attractions, and also provisioning, where you can provision. I think what I'm going to do is go over the launching options first, and then I'll look at area by area, the different attractions there. So I'm going to go from north to south for launching options. And as far north as I'm going to start, I think, is up here at Port Richie. This is just north of Anclote. There is a free launching ramp up in Port Richie. I believe it's called Nick's Park. It has a good amount of parking and a single ramp. There's also a dock nearby you can tie your boat up to temporarily. This is on the Withlacoochee River, and you can sail out of the river. You should pay attention to tides because there can be a pretty strong current, and off you go out into the Gulf of Mexico, and we'll talk about some of the things to do here. So there's the farthest north ramp that I use regularly. Now, not a ramp, but down here at Green Key by Robert Reese Memorial Park, as you go out this little road here, Green Key Road, you can launch from this causeway here. On either side, you can see an opening right here, and on the other side, an opening there. Both of those are actually fairly good for launching boats that you can launch off the beach if you have a small boat and a low trailer. The water around it is fairly shallow. You have to be able to get out in a foot of water, foot and a half of water. But that's a nice option because the other part can be quite crowded sometimes, and this usually isn't the one or two times that I've used it. Coming further south, next launching option is here at Anclote River Park. This is at the mouth of the Anclote River here. The Anclote River goes up to Tarpon Springs, but at the mouth here, there is a launching ramp right by this power plant, which is a key landmark. You can see the towers from just about anywhere on the Sound or Clearwater Bay. But the park here is at the very end of the river here. It's not hard to find. It's at the end of Anclote Road. You can park here. I think it's pay to park. Not positive, but I think that's true. There's a couple of nice ramps here. There's only a couple of issues here. One, this waterway here is actually an intake for the power plant. And when the power plant's running, there's a pretty strong current pulling in there. So you want to make sure that you have an outboard or really good wind for leaving if that current is pulling. I'm not sure how you can find out when they're pulling. They're not always pulling cooling water, but I've been there before, and this is also why you can see this little red line across here. That's a strainer to stop boats from getting sucked in, but you can get kind of pinned there if you weren't careful. The other issue is Tarpon Springs is a working fishing community. They have a number of different fishing boats that go in and out all the time. So you can get quite a bit of boat traffic on here also, and a little bit larger commercial vessels. So that can make this run out of the river here a little unpleasant, but it's not that long. And once you're out here close to Anclote Key and points further south that we'll go over. Coming south, the next place that people sometimes launch is off of Sunset Beach. There's not a ramp here, but there is a launching area right here. You do need a permit to launch there. And they have been enforcing this, I understand, more rigorously in recent years. You get those permits from the city of Tarpon Springs. I think it's very reasonable for residents. I think it's been unreasonable for people who aren't residents, but you can check it out and see what the policy is now. I know it changes over time. But if you have that, you can launch there. And that's pretty convenient for launching into North St. Joseph Sound here. Coming further south, your next launching opportunity, at least that I use, is up here. And this is at Sutherland Boat Ramp. This is up at the end of Sutherland Bayou here, right in or near Crystal Beach. You do pay, I think, $5 or $6 a day to park here, at least as of this recording. It's not a bad ramp. They have rebuilt it recently, so it's in pretty good shape. It's small. There's a little dock you can tie up to temporarily once you launch. And there's quite a bit of parking over here in this grass field. So I launch out of here without a motor. I'm able to tack out of this little channel here, even though it's fairly narrow. If you have a motor, it's no problem at all. And then you're out this little channel here, and then again into St. Joseph Sound up here. Coming further south, really come to my preferred launching location, and that is the Dunedin Causeway. I can launch my boat easily off the beach here at the Causeway. If you're day sailing at the Causeway, it's free to launch. Basically, just back it in, launch your boat. You can leave your car parked in its spot. Make sure, pay attention to the tide so the tide doesn't come up and cover your trailer or your car. Well, wouldn't cover it, but, you know, we would get it salty. Or I sometimes, if I'm going to be spending a couple of days there, and you can spend the night here if you get an overnight parking pass. They are $10, and you have to get those from the Dunedin Community Center, which is not far away. I'll show you on the map here. It is, there we go. There's the Dunedin Community Center right on Michigan and Pinehurst. And you go in there and you just give them your driver's license and contact information and license plate numbers, and give them $10, and you can spend 2 nights on the Causeway, which would be 3 days. Sometimes they'll offer more days. If you're going to be there 3 nights, they'll go ahead and put 3 nights on there. But they alert the police, so the police know that you're there to look for you and also not to ticket you. And they give you a parking permit to hang on your rear view mirror. But if you're just going for the day, it's free. This is just a very convenient, as long as you go there when it's not too crowded. There's no lines to wait in. You'd launch pretty much, the sailboats are supposed to launch on the far end of the Causeway here, kind of past this kayak rental place. The jet skis and power boats are supposed to be on the first half of it. But it's, again, if your trailer's low and your boat doesn't draw very much, I've been able to launch in almost no water at all here and slide my boat off. And this is very convenient. You can go out to the Gulf here through Dunedin Pass, or be in South St. Joseph Sound here, which I like to sail in quite a bit. Coming further south for launching options, you have the Dunedin Marina. That's right here. There's the Dunedin Marina. You do pay to launch. There's the ramp right there. You can park overnight. You just check in at the marina office, which is up here. In the past, they've said that you have to have at least 2 forms of propulsion, one of them being motor. So if you have motor and oars, you're okay. Though I've had friends of mine launch here without motors under, I don't know if it's a new dockmaster, and they really didn't complain. You know, they were able to get out all right. They had oars, the wind was favorable, they weren't bumping into boats. But you might want to check on that if you're sailing without a motor before you count on being able to launch there. So there's the Dunedin Marina. Coming further south, we have Seminole Street Boat Ramp. It's on Seminole Street, just north of the Clearwater Memorial Bridge here. And they've just redone this. It's in really good shape. There's a huge parking lot, lots of parking spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4 double ramps. So I think you could launch 8 boats at a time here. And they're still developing more. They're supposed to put in one more dock over here that you can tie up to also. So it's fairly convenient. It is a busy place though on the weekends. People can be a little pushy here sometimes. And I think it's a little more expensive. It might be $7 or $8 a day. I'm not sure. You can go to the Clearwater city site and find out for sure. It's not a bad place to launch from. A lot of people use it. Okay, now there are some places that you could launch at over on the North Clearwater Beach side. There's 1 or 2 ramps there. However, I don't recommend them. It's always really difficult to get over there. There's lots of traffic, and the parking, the ability to park is very restricted. So that is usually not much of an option at all. So I'm not going to talk about any of those. Coming further south, the next opportunity you have is over on the west end of Clearwater Bay here, and that's at the Clearwater Community Sailing Center. That's right here on Sand Key. Just personal note, I was actually the director of the sailing center for a number of years. You can pay to launch there for the day. You can also pay for a week or more to store your vehicle, usually and your trailer. Usually they store it over in the park across the way, back in their long-term trailer storage, which is over here. But call the policies have changed over the year. I don't know exactly what it is now. So call the Clearwater Community Sailing Center if you're considering launching from there. I do know people that are members there that keep their boats up in storage over here and launch their boats all the time. But you can use it on a short-term basis, either a day or a week or even a month if you're down in the area. Your next launching opportunities, we come further south, is right here. And this is on the Bel Air Causeway. This has been redone relatively recently, fixed a number of times because of storms too, but it's a nice facility. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 double ramps and then 2 single ramps on the side there. So you can launch quite a few boats at once. There's parking here in front of the ramps. There's also parking underneath the causeway, which is kind of nice because you're out of the rain and the sun there if you're going to leave your car for a little while. This is pay to park. The only bad thing here is when it's busy. You know, on weekends, this can be very busy. Also, you want to pay attention to wind direction. If you've got a strong wind out of the northwest, it can be a little bit bumpy on the docks here because you have a little bit of fetch there. But they're great ramps. And as long as it's not crowded, it's a very good place to launch from. That's all I'm going to talk about for, and I'm sorry, I am going to talk about launching further south. There are ramps along the intercoastal waterway here that you can launch on also. I'm not going to talk about those because I generally don't launch in the middle of the intercoastal waterway because it's not great sailing. But another place that I do sail often is down here around Fort Desoto, and I want to go over a couple of launching options there. The first I want to talk about is up here at Maximo Park. This is right at the base of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. If you're going on 275, like you're going to the bridge, the very last exit before you go over the bridge is for the park here. But you basically come off the interstate and then you're on Pinellas Point Drive and that goes right into the park here. The nice thing about this is these ramps are free and you can stay here 48 hours. You could basically get 3 days of sailing and with 48 hours of parking, you know, in between. From this location. There's two ramp locations separated by a little bit of land here. You can see there's 1, 2, 3. You can launch 4 boats over there and 3 over here. This is crowded on the weekend because it is a free ramp. But again, if you go there on off times, it's usually wide open. Lots of parking there. It's a nice little park too. This is a place you could kind of hang out and sail to. We'll talk more about that. And you're basically in this body of water here and can get to Boca Ciega Bay or down to Fort Desoto, other places from here. But that's a nice, very nice place to launch from. Oh, you can also go across the bay like I've done on a couple of trips. The other place you can launch from is another very nice ramp, maybe the nicest ramp in the area. And this is at Fort Desoto Park. It's actually just before the park. Here it is here. And boy, it's almost impossible to count all these ramps. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's 10 piers and double launching, or maybe 11 on each side. God, you could launch over 20 boats there at once. So it's very rare for this to be filled to capacity, though it can be busy, on a weekend with boats coming and going. You do get quite a bit of current here. This current going out Bunce's Pass out to the Gulf can be fairly strong. Also, this bridge here, the Bayway, the Pinellas Bayway Bridge, is not very tall. It's only about 20 feet tall. My mast will not fit under it. I've got to put my mast down if I want to go under there. So if you're thinking about heading east from there, you either have to have your mast down or a fairly short mast, like 20 feet or under 20 feet. So that's the extent of the launching ramps. Well, I'll throw one more in. At the end of Pinellas Point here, at the very end of Pinellas County, there is a park, Bay Vista Park, and there's a launching ramp there also. I have not used it. I've visited. It's a nice ramp. It's a single ramp, and there is some parking there as well. I'm not sure what the overnight situation is. I think you probably can park overnight there, but I haven't done it, so I can't say for sure. I do sail farther south in other locations, but I'm going to limit this overview to that area. What I'm going to do now is talk about the different things you can do in the different areas. Let's start up north here. The first area I think I'll talk about is the area in and around Anclote Key. This is about as far north as I sail. As you go further north here, there are a few interesting places to go, but the water's a little problematic. There's a lot of shallow area. There's a lot of oyster beds, and you've got to go pretty far out to get decent water. So this is not prime sailing until you go up to Cedar Key, which is a nice little sailing area. I didn't include this in this overview. Maybe I should have, but I'm going to start with the Anclote area. So wherever you launch from, it's not that far. I've sailed to Anclote from Honeymoon Island, from Dunedin Causeway. I think it's about 11 miles up there. In fact, you can go up and back in a day if you have good winds. Officially, you can camp on Anclote Key on the north tip here. You can land camp there. I recommend that if you have a sailboat, that you be able to roll it up on the shore, though, because this is a pretty exposed tip and winds are often out of the north. So I don't know if I'd want to keep my boat in the water there. People go there with kayaks all the time and pull them up. There is a toilet facility there. I think it's a composting toilet. In fact, I think it's right there is where it is. Here we go. So at the north end here, there's a couple of keys here that you can sail back in here, though this is very shallow water here, foot and a half. There's a shoal out there. But if you have a shallow draft boat, you can come in there and sail in here, and you can anchor in here and here, all sorts of places if you need to get out of the wind. Though there's no real places to go ashore back here. If you want to go ashore, you're pretty much up on that north shore over there. On the west side, there's this nice long beach all along the entire key. If the winds are out of the east, this is a nice place to land because you've got nice sand beaches. You also have these, especially as you get up here where it's narrower, you have trees here that give nice shade. So you can have a nice sand beach and nice shade to sit in here, especially in this more central and northern region of the key here. It's very nice. Down at the south end, there's a lighthouse. It's a very tall metal lighthouse, Anclote Key Light. I don't think, you used to be able to go in there all the time. I think you can only go in there under special occasions now, but you can land down here at this tip. There's various places you could land a boat, and you can take a walk on the boardwalk there and look at the lighthouse, and there's picnic areas and places there also if you'd like to go. It's a popular day spot for people to go to, but you could anchor in various locations here where you would be protected for different winds if you wanted to spend the night. Coming further south, you have Fred Howard Park. This is not a bad place to sail to. It's a very nice park. I've sailed and landed up in this area here. You could land and go ashore. There's bathrooms there, etc. It's a nice park. I used to windsurf in this location. In fact, this is a very popular windsurfing place for the nation, not just locally. People come to windsurf because these areas north and south of the causeway are about 3-4 feet deep, almost all of them, and you get wind protection on either side depending on which way the wind is coming from. So they're just fantastic windsurfing locations, and people spend their winters here windsurfing from all over the country. They come here. You can also sail to Sunset Beach. I talked about where you could launch. Again, I really don't go there very often, but you might if you want to do a bathroom break or something. You could do that, or have a picnic there. That would be fine. As you come south from Anclote, you come to what is known as Three Rooker Bar, right here. A long time ago, this used to be one big island, and then it split into three and was called Three Rooker. And then over the last few years, there's been quite a bit of erosion, and all this center section has been taken out, and even a little bit more than is seen in this picture here. So you have this bit down here and a bit up here left, and that's about it. You can easily sail in between here now. There's plenty of water for any shallow draft boat, any shoal draft boat. Coming further south, we have Honeymoon Island. Honeymoon Island is at the end of Dunedin Causeway. I'd like to go here. Now, I usually go here from the causeway, either sailing on the outside and coming in like this. And I tend to do that when the winds are more from the east. So I'm in the lee of the island there when I'm sailing out. I don't like to be out in the Gulf when there's west winds, especially if they're strong, because the Gulf's all churned up then. Or I come in under the Dunedin Causeway bridge and sail up this way and come back in here. There's some interesting features about Honeymoon Island that I enjoy. Up at the top, you have these little coves you can sail into. This one here, you can actually see this has actually been breached here. The island is in the process of breaking up into 4 pieces right now. There's 3 breaches that are going to split it up into 4 pieces. Because of that, right now, a lot of the vegetation has been taken out here. So it's a very nice beach up there that you can sail to. And again, be protected on this side in smooth water, and the Gulf of Mexico is over there. So it's kind of fun that you can be so close to the Gulf and at the same time be in protected waters. This is something I think is fairly unique. You don't get that very often, at least not things that are that close to one another. As you come down, the water here, it gets very shallow back here in Pelican Cove, but I like it back here the most. There's a nice little point here, similar to what I was saying up above, where, a few years ago when I first found this, there was just a tiny little beach here and a tiny little walk through. You could go through the mangroves. It's pretty much been all opened up and overtopped, and that is probably going to get cut in half, cut in 2 in the next year or 2, or the next big storm that could open up. But in the meantime, boy, is it nice to come back here. You can anchor here, have all sorts of protection, and then just go right here and be right on the beach if you want to be. So that's very nice. You can do the same back here in Pelican Cove. This beach is even bigger now. This is a huge beach. It used to have vegetation, but again, the erosion, the water overtopping it has opened it up. I went here just the other day. It was a beautiful beach to hang out on. This is very shallow water here, though. So you have to pay attention to the tide here. You could get stuck in for a while. It's even more shallow here than it is farther north. I find that unless the tide's very low, you can come in kind of like this and then come over to this side and into here and have pretty good water. There's a pretty big shoal right about here that's almost always very shallow. But when the tide's higher, you can get over it. So those are a couple little anchorages that I think are really neat and unique. You just don't have a lot of opportunity to have an anchorage like that with super protection and immediate access to the Gulf. That's just not that common at all. Now, in terms of places to go, you can go over here to Crystal Beach, which is straight over to the east. And there's a big pier in Crystal Beach here, kind of a recreational little park here. And it's not a great beach, but you could anchor your boat here in pretty shallow water. And you're pretty close to some things that you want to go to. You can go here. There's a restaurant, Gyro King, Euro King, if you'd like to go. It's, I don't think it's even half a mile. I think it's about a third of a mile to get there. So just 10-minute walk at the most. There's also a breakfast place here called Emily's you can walk to relatively easily. And then other restaurants in the area up here that you might like. But more importantly, here, just a little bit further, I don't think it's quite a mile away out, is a Publix supermarket. So you can provision there. Here's Juan's Mexican Grill also. So that's a place, if you're up in the north end there and wanted to spend all your time up north, that you could, again, go out to a restaurant if you want to and do some provisioning. Here, I'll stay on this map for a minute. You see these spoil islands. These are made when the intercoastal waterway is dredged. That's the dredge spoil. That's why they're fairly in a line and uniformly spaced. That's the length of the dredge hose. Some of these are preserves and you can't go over them. A lot of them are not. You can definitely go on this island right here. A lot of people do. And in this little Y here, if the winds are southerly, you can kind of come in here, and when the tide's low, you can walk ashore on the sand here. There's places here you can come up if the wind is more out of the northwest. Again, you can look and make your own decisions there, but people do go to there. It's again popular island. On the weekends, you're probably gonna have company, but during the week, you're gonna have it to yourself. The next one north, I'm pretty sure is a preserve. I've sailed to it before and seen the signs. The one north of that, I think is open, but when I went here, it was really rocky around the shore. It wasn't really that amenable for landing on. The one north of that, I have spent time at. This one has a nicer beach. It's not fantastic, but it's nicer. And I've anchored out in here a number of times, or you can anchor on this side of the shoal here, again, depending on wind direction. And you can easily go ashore and hang out in the shade of the trees there, etc. There's another island north of this, a little bit smaller, about the same thing. That's and then I think that's it. This last little sliver here is not much of an island. I think you might be able to land on that at low tide. But those are fun to go to. Another option you have for places to eat, again, if the wind is right, you can anchor out, kind of pull up on the beach or anchor out right here in this corner here. And I think there's probably private property, but if you just don't, you're just walking into a parking lot here. Or I have also, might be in trouble saying this, but right here, there's a little like stairwell ladder coming from this apartment complex here, condo complex. And it's used by people who use these little boats here. So it's really kind of made to do that. And I've come up there and just walked out this parking lot and not bothered anyone in the past. And what that gives you access to is nice restaurant here, Frenchie's Bar and Grill. It's nice to go to. There's a shopping plaza here with a couple of different restaurants, the Sandbar, Cricket's British Pub, McDonald's, if you're so inclined. So that's kind of nice to get to there. You also have another Publix, which is just right there. And again, I'll measure it off for you, but it's a short walk. You can get there pretty easily. So if you pulled out of the water here, you'd walk about like so. Right at half a mile, basically 2,600 feet. So that's about a 10-minute walk over to the Publix from landing over there, and a number of restaurants right there as well. Coming into South St. Joseph Sound, which is where I sail quite a bit, everything over here is Calaty Sea Island State Park. That's a state park you can only get to by water. There's a water taxi that goes there, but you can sail there by boat. The beach is really nice. This has been named the #1 beach and one of the top 10 beaches every year that they do ratings, because the sand is really fine. It's a nice beach to go to. I often sail from here. There's kind of a natural channel that runs along the island there. And I really just kind of find it very fun to sail there. You can see it here. The dark green water is right off the shore. I mean, you're off, sometimes I'm off just 10, 15 feet off the shore and going by the wading birds, etc. There's little beaches you could land on here also if you were so inclined. You can also land up on the north end here of the beach and beach your boat, anchor, and walk along the beach if you'd like to. There's a little island here people sometimes go to. It's very shallow water around it. But again, if you have a shoal draft boat, it's not a big deal. Go here and land and hang out, have lunch, whatever. See what, I'll stick on Caladesi Island first for a minute, and then I'll look at the other items. The water's pretty shoal. You can see in these sort of dark green areas here. And there's actually a series of markers, of posts that mark this area as non-combustion engine area. If you stay on the outside of those posts, you usually have fairly deep water. At higher tide, though, you can come inside, and I've run along the shore here directly when the tide is high, and that's very fun. You're, again, right off the mangroves, see lots of marine life, birds, etc. But usually you're sailing a little bit further off, like out here. I really like coming through this cut here called Scherer's Cut. It's kind of neat because when you come through here, you're kind of blocked off from all civilization here, and you just see these islands, and you see a little bit of civilization over here, Carlua Yacht Club, etc. But it's very naturalistic back there. Very special place. I love to go, and you can only go here without a motor. You're not allowed to have a motor on. But this is back here, Scherer's Bayou. Scherer was a homesteader that had a homestead about here. There's a trail on the island that goes there. You can go visit. And his daughter lived there after his death. I forget her first name. It might be Myrtle. But she wrote a book called I Once Lived in Paradise, which is very interesting about her life here, and taking her little boat, just like our little boats, and going to Dunedin to buy and sell things and go to school, etc. This is pretty shoal right here. The deepest water would be to come in here toward Redfish Point, back along here around this point, and then here. The bayou itself has about 4 feet in the middle of it mostly. I was in there the other day. I went a little bit farther off the side to get out of all of the line of sight of civilization. I did a soft grounding in the middle of the night, but by the time there was about a 1.4 feet, I was floating, 1.4 above datum. I was floating and was able to get out with the wind behind me. But that's just a sweet little place. Again, this is all very shoal here, but you can get across it at higher tide. If not, you can kind of sneak around here or across here, and you can start to go up the channel to Old Dunedin Pass. Now, Dunedin Pass filled in up here. It's no longer a pass, but it's pretty deep water here. And then up in here, it starts to shoal. About halfway through, you're better to scooch over to the right half here. There's a little deeper water. But if it's low tide, you're gonna have a hard time going up there. But I like going up there because, again, I like natural places without development. And it's pretty up here. And just the other day, I went here to the very end here at Bird Key. And you can't see it on this. If I go over on the other chart, I could, in fact, all right, I'll do it and show you. This is a newer satellite photo. That's why you can see this. If you come up here, you can just see that little path right there that's formed. And again, a lot of this beach has eroded away over the years. But I came all the way up here and you're able to go through. And this is another one of those lovely places where you can be in perfectly protected little bay back here. And then 20, 30 feet further, and you're on the beach on the Gulf of Mexico. So that's very fun. Have to watch the tides here. Definitely have to have a shoal draft boat. You can get stuck up here for a while if you time it wrong, but wait for the tides and then you're out. I'll stay here for now. So that's pretty much Caladesi Island. Now, other things in South St. Joseph Sound here, there's Spoil Islands again. So the first one here is pretty big, and there's people that spend the whole summer on here I've run into. There is a place right about here that you can land. It doesn't look like it, but there's a little beach there under those trees, and you can go inside, and there's picnic table, even a picnic table in there, and nice place to set up and camp if you wanted to, or just stop and have a picnic. but that's pretty fun. Coming south, the next island is also not a bad little island for a day stop. You could camp on it, I suppose. I have never done that. There's better options, I think. But nice little island here. It does have a shoal here to kind of come around. But you can land anywhere on the beach here. Pay attention to where you're landing. Sometimes there's a few little rocks and stuff, but it's not bad at all. And if you over here, there's almost like a little grove you can sit in shade if you want to, which is important in the summer, and have just a nice little stop. So that's another place to go to. Coming next, this is technically a little island at low tide. This is visible. At other times it's not though. So pay attention to where this is. A lot of people run up on this and don't even realize it, and maybe ground or scrape the bottom of their boat. But pay attention to where this little shoal is. Find it on your chart. I forget which marker it's across from here. Well, probably marker 8 because this is marker 8 restaurant here. So it's close to off of marker 8. Just be aware of it. I find when I want to run in deeper water on this side, but not be in the intercoastal, there's sort of a natural channel. You can see it here that runs alongside these islands just to the west of them. And that'll keep you in pretty decent water most of the time. Probably the shallowest spot is by this half submerged island here. It gets really shoal over here. So if you're looking for the deeper water, it's kind of right there, just a couple hundred feet off that shoal. But if you go too far to the west, you're in shallow water again. Okay, one of the most popular islands is this one here. It's the next one down. It's just to the northwest of Dunedin Marina. It's almost straight northwest. It's got a little shoal here. Depending on wind direction, you can anchor here or here pretty easily. And again, what's nice about it is sand beach, but just a nice place to hang out under these trees here, to picnic or to set up tents. You can even go inland and do that also. Very popular island. You'll probably have company if you're there on the weekend. I've never had anyone be really kind of rude or too obnoxious there. But that's a very, very popular and nice island to go to. Going south, there's another island you can land on. The landings aren't quite as nice, but this one's not used as much. So you could consider going on this one and camping on this one if the other island was overcrowded or busy or loud. Further south, there's another island. Again, pay attention to the wind direction, when you're thinking about which of these to go on. What I don't like is much, this one's not too bad, but if you're too close to the intercoastal, you get a lot of boat traffic and noise, etc. But this one, I've met here, I brought the group here a couple of times. You can see, nice beach here. That's a really nice beach to land on. Again, pretty shallow water in front of it, but not such a terrible problem. And you can go in the interior and hike around quite a bit in all the interior here also. So it's sort of interesting to explore if you like to do that. Another island south, similar to the one up there, again with a nice beach there. Yet another one here, again, very, very similar to the other two. And then there's a tiny little one here that gets used a lot. This is very close to the Seminole Street ramp that I showed the launching from a second ago. So Seminole Street ramp is just right down there. And in this beach, it's got a lot of nice sand. So a lot of people hang out on there, and it's close to Island Estates over here. So I don't love going there because it's more crowded and I like the other ones better. But those are some of the islands you can go to. Now, other things to do kind of in this area. I showed before how you could land over here and get to Publix and all that up here. You can also land here. And if you zoom in, you can see, you can land over here where the cars are, even a little further over, which I kind of recommend because then you're not in front of everyone and who's kind of tempted to go and mess with your boats. But you can land and walk on one of these paths and be over to the road here. And then you can walk to all those other places that I showed you before, the Publix, the restaurants, etc. You're just a little further away than you are in that corner there, but it's still an easy walk. You know, now you're walking a mile maybe. Coming down, the next sort of interesting thing to do over on the shore here is at Dunedin Marina. These docks here out on the end, these are free day docks. So if they're open, you can land at those and you can stay there. You can't stay overnight, but you can stay there pretty much all day if you want to. And then you've got access to all these nice things in Dunedin. Kind of the first thing you have is right here, Old Bay Cafe, right in the marina. That's a decent place to eat. You can eat outside and watch your boat, so that's nice. You can go across this, walk just a little bit further across the street, and there are tons of restaurants in downtown Dunedin, starting with the one right on the corner, which I think is CC Ryder, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, CC Ryder, which I've had very nice meals at, and again, it's right at the corner here. And there's just a ton of restaurants if you go down Main Street here in downtown Dunedin. So that's kind of a nice option for you there if those are available to you. If they're not, I've also anchored or pulled my boat ashore over here. This is actually where they have keep their small boats for like the Dunedin Boat Club. You can see all those sunfish up there and a couple of other boats. I think there's like 2 poles in the water here that kind of mark these rocky, places. So make sure you come in between there. But you can see the rocks here and over here. So kind of make sure these are marked, come between there. But you could, again, if the tide is out, you could beach your boat. If not, you could set an anchor or two and come out in a foot and a half of water and walk out. And again, then have access to all those same places. In fact, I kind of like that better when it's available because those docks can be a little bumpy and rocky when the winds are from the north and the west because they are sort of exposed. Oh, I skipped over one thing. Just north of here, maybe 2 things, is this restaurant Marker 8. It has these docks. They're funky little docks, though. They have these really tiny little finger piers that are only like, I don't know, 8 feet long or something, 6 feet long, and this long dock. And then there's pilings that are farther back that you can tie your stern off to. But I've landed there a number of times. The docks are more than adequate. And you can go here and there's like a tiki bar and you can get, lunch there. And in the summertime, there's a pool and you can even go use the pool and cool off, which is a nice perk. They don't allow children though. So if you have anyone under 18, they're pretty strict. They're not going to allow you there. Just a little interesting thing here. There is this public pier here and this park, Joseph Cephas Weaver Park. So Weaver Park. What's interesting about this is that's a little floating dock there out at the end. So you could tie up there very temporarily. I wouldn't want to stay there all day long, but you can drop people off and pick them up here if it's not too rough. And that's a nice option, if you didn't want to go all the way back to the causeway or something, or that didn't want to go to the marina. That's a nice option that I've just recently sort of recognized and started to use. Okay, coming a little further down, one of my favorite little trips. I launch from the causeway. It takes me about an hour and a half, depending on the wind. And you can come down the backside of Clearwater Beach here, down what's called Mandalay Channel. And there's these docks here right by the rec center and the library. And the first couple of them here are free day docks. Yay, free docks. So you can land there. And then it's just a very short walk over to the beach, to the Palm Pavilion, if you want to go there, to Frenchie's Rockaway, number of different restaurants that you could walk to in 10 minutes or 15 minutes at the most. There's probably half a dozen or more that you'd want to go to. That's very nice. And then you come back and you sail away. Hooray. There's something else interesting down here. Now, if you wanted to, you can anchor. You cannot stay the night at those docks. They do police that apparently, but you could anchor out in the bay here like a lot of people do. Though what I normally would do is even if I have dinner here, I'm going to go back up Old Dunedin Channel and anchor up up here or over in Shares Bayou or somewhere, because that's just much nicer. But there's another interesting thing back here. If you come further down, it's actually a couple of interesting things. This is Frenchie's Saltwater Cafe. This is a very nice restaurant. And these docks here are for Frenchies. So you can land there for free. There are dock hands. It's nice to tip them. They help you, even though you probably don't need their help as a little sailboat. In fact, whenever I sail and land it under sail, I usually get accolades going. I've never seen anyone do that before. But those are nice to decent docks there to tie up to. Again, unless it's busy, and then they're going to be crowded. Now, another thing that not a lot of people know about, if you keep going here, all the way to the end of this, by this very nice restaurant, which is Island Way Grill. These docks here are free docks also, day docks. And you could go to the very fancy Island Way Grill. They might look at you funny if you came in off your boat full of sand and grime. But if you cleaned up a little bit, they might let you in. But more importantly, at least I think more importantly, very close by is another Publix. Ta-da! Again, I'll go to the other map to mark off how far it is, but it's incredibly close. It's a 5-minute walk, if that. I don't even know if I'm going to bother to go over there. You can see how close it is. It's just 2 blocks. So that's nice from a provisioning perspective. Okay. I think I will hop back over here. So again, we were just down here in this area here looking at those. You have one more point of interest in South St. Joseph Bay, and that's these docks over here, right at the base of the bridge. You gotta be a good sailor or have a motor to do this, but this entire long finger here, you can tie up to during the day. Part of it is reserved for an excursion or ferry boat, so pay attention to the signs there. But most of this you can tie up to, and then you have access to downtown Clearwater. And again, number of restaurants all right in this area here also. So as you can see, there's quite a few things to do, both natural places to go to. Oh, and I didn't show you one thing. I'm going to show you one more thing back up on Caladesi. Or there's quite a few restaurants that you can go to in different places here. You know, amazing amount for this space. One thing I didn't show you, I will show you, there's another one of my little secret places. When you're going up the Dunedin Pass, up the old to the old pass, this old channel here, there's a spot, and it's basically right here. It's hard to see. Maybe it'll be easier to see on the other map. I'll go over there. Pretty sure it's there or there. Might be right there. I think it's right there. There's a tiny little beach you can land on there, and then there's a path that comes up here to this main path, and you are then on Caladesi Island, and the path's here, and you can explore the island. So that's a fun little place, because there's not a lot of other places you can land and get on the island. But I've done that a couple of times. What you should look for to help find it is the electric wires. You're going to see like one power pole about here, and then you're going to see, a power line. And then as you get closer, you'll see sort of the second pole, and I think a transformer on it. It's right by that second pole where that landing is. So if you see that and want to explore there, that's fun, because you can do things like, like I did earlier this year, go over to the Sharer place. There is a trail. You can walk up along here, and then I think the trail comes across something like this, and then down there, that's just a 20-minute hike down to the Sharer Homestead place, which is pretty neat. Or again, you can hike all over the island if you wanted to. You could hike all the way up to the other end. Oh, I guess I should mention, I didn't mention this before. There's one other thing. It's not a place to launch, but it is a place to stay if you're so inclined. You can also stay, again, here's the causeway. This is the north end of Caladesi Island. There's a marina at the state park here. This is where you land if you take the ferry boat over. But yeah, big marina here, nice floating docks. You do have to pay to stay there. It's not cheap. It's $20-something a night. And you're not supposed to leave the marina at nighttime, because the park's closed when it's dark. But You have a nice secure, I've stayed there, I think once. You have a nice secure place. There is a little cafe here. You can get burgers and hot dogs and fries up to like 4 o'clock. You also have restrooms with cold showers, but showers, if you want to clean up. So this is another option of a place for you to go and stay, besides an anchorage. There is that marina. And technically, you can also tie up overnight at Marker 1 Marina, if you're also looking for a marina to tie up at, and they have access there to hot showers and laundry and water, etc. And you can't stay at the day docks here, but you can make arrangements to stay at the Dunedin Marina, and transient slips also, if they're available there also. So you do have those options of 3 marinas in the area if you're looking for that. I'm going to show you a few things coming south here. The next bay is technically Clearwater Bay. I don't find this as interesting. It's fine to sail around in. It's mostly surrounded by houses. Again, you do have the Clearwater Community Sailing Center that I talked about before that you could launch from, and even make a base for a longer period of time if you got a storage deal over there for a week or a month or whatever. You can come over here in the pass to Shepherd's. This is a place that you could land and eat at a restaurant. Probably as far south as I'm going to go. Again, here's the launching ramp we talked about at Bel Air Causeway. If this is a tall bridge here, you can go under this one, no problem. Also, the bridge at the north end here, the Clearwater Memorial Bridge, that's also a high bridge. You can always go under that one. If you come under the bridge here at Bel Air and head south, you get to this next bridge. This one's again like a 24, 25-foot bridge. You might fit under it. You might have to open it. It's the Indian Rocks Causeway Bridge. But just after the bridge, you have Keegan Clare Park. And once again, these are free docks you can stay at for the day. And there's a number of restaurants, Slice Pizza, VIP Grill, JD's Restaurant, all within a couple of block walk from there. And if you go just a little bit further down, you get here to Caddy's Pub, which is really nice. I've eaten here a number of times, and I've sailed down here. The sail's not bad if the wind's right. And they have nice docks to land on here, and you can eat outside under umbrellas and look at it, go inside. And that's a nice little day trip also. Now, I do happen to know that it's being renovated and it's closed as of this recording. This is just about April 2022, but they'll be done and reopen, I'm sure, in a couple of weeks whenever they're done with that. Now, you can continue down the intercoastal. There are other places to go, etc., but I don't normally do this because the sailing's not that good. But I might someday, if I had the itch, but since I don't have a lot of personal knowledge, I'm not going to talk about that. What I will talk about briefly is the area down here around Fort Desoto. I told you about the different launches here. Oh, I missed one launch. You can launch here up in Boca Ciega Bay. There is a marina here. It's a municipal marina, City of Gulfport Municipal Marina, and you can launch there. I think you can also tie up there, overnight if you make an arrangement. Over here in Gulfport, this is a very interesting place. It's sort of a funky little artist restaurant community. People like going here. They've had issues with transient boats here before, so they've gotten a little strict about where you can come ashore and where you can stay. I used to come up and, well, that's interesting. I see boats in here now, so maybe you can do this. I've seen signs that don't want you to come up and land here on this beach, but boy, that looks like boats there, so maybe that's changed. What they did, and maybe they must be doing some construction in this picture. This is a free dinghy dock here, but there's no boats there, so they must have been doing some construction or something when that picture was taken, because usually that's just full of dinghies. So I'll bet all those dinghies used to be over there when this picture was taken. But either way, if you can tie up at that dock, you have access to these restaurants, et cetera, right there. And this is a short sail, hour and a half from Maximo Point Park over there. Another place you can sail to either from Maximo or down here from the Fort Desoto ramps, though I think this is best from Maximo. You can come here underneath this bridge, which is now a high bridge. The Pinellas Bayway, this first bridge was, the drawbridge was replaced with a high bridge, so you can get under that easily with any boat. You can come over here and right up this little finger of water here, there is a restaurant called Sea Critters, and they have docks and you can tie up there and you can go to lunch there, which is nice. A couple of other places here, but Sea Critters I think is probably your best option there. You can continue out here and go out past the grill here, out into the Gulf. And then you can enter, this is a new pass called Irma Pass. It was opened up by Hurricane Irma. And it's changing a lot, the amount of sand and the shape. But you have these two nice little sand beaches here, which are just great for landing on. Again, you can come in kind of behind them, so you're in the protection from the Gulf. And you can swim or hang out and have lunch. You can also, there is enough water. You see this little white line that's on the map. That's actually showing you pretty much the channel to go all the way back here to Billy's Stone Crab, which is a nice place to go also. This is, a lot of this area back here is protected. Some of it you can sail in, some of it is restricted. It's very shallow. I've sailed in it quite a bit. At low tide, you're going to have problems, but at other times I've sailed all through here. And you can kind of come back from there over to the launching ramp area here. You can also sail from the ramp or from whatever out Bunce's Pass here. Again, pay attention to the current. It can be quite strong. It's so strong you might not be able to beat it if there's not a strong enough wind. So pay attention to that. This interesting little, this is all very new land here. This has been built up in the last couple of years. It's got a name now, Outback Key. I don't know if they paid naming rights, but that's what people are calling it. And it's a very popular spot to hang out on the weekends. If I zoom in, you'll see quite a few power boats all along here. But it's a fun little place. You can land on this part of Shell Key, which is on the other side. You can even camp there, but you do need to get a permit, a camping permit to go there. And you can get that, I think, through the Fort Desoto Park. Go online for the restrictions on that. Otherwise, I sail around. Well, this picture is a little bit hard to see. Let's go take a look either here. We'll look at the Navionics. Yeah, so I do regularly sail down through here. You can sail back here in this little bayou. That's kind of interesting to sail back in there. This is the campgrounds over here. I have met friends who are camping on shoreside sites and use the restrooms, etc. But you can anchor off the island here. I've also anchored back in here, this little finger back in here. That's really protected. And it's basically trees all around. There's no camping, so you're not bothering anyone there. There is a little place you can get out on the shore over here if you needed to come and go there. But that's a nice little anchorage. Again, you can anchor back in these this bayou area here. All fun places to go to. And up through the little passages up here into Irma Pass and up there. You can sail the outside. You can come down around along the beach here. Again, if the weather's good and the wind is good, it's not too rough. I've done that quite a bit, like for the start of the Everglades Challenge. But that's basically what we do down there. Okay, I think that's going to cover most of the things I want to tell you about this area that I sail in quite a bit. People do ask, so I finally made this recording, and hopefully this will answer people's questions and give them ideas about where to go and what to do. But as you can see, especially up here where I like to sail a lot, boy, there's a lot to do in that little area. And it's really pretty because everything along this side is pretty much park. So you've got at least one side that's not developed. You've got lots of options with wind direction and tide on where you go. You've got nature to be in. You've got restaurants to go to. You've got decent anchorages. So highly recommend that you come and play.